Boxing UK, thanks for joining us. End of the press conference, you shattered?
I'm alright, a lot of interviews today, it's a great turnout, and it's like a lot of narratives on this card. You know, obviously you've got the two big heavyweight fights, but got a lot of young talent as well, and a lot of people turning up to ask me questions about AJ as well.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll try and do a rapid fire quick through it, because I've heard some of the questions, Eddie, and they're just repetitive, so we'll go through it. First and foremost, this card, no really massive names on it, possibly with the exception of Derek, but such an intriguing card.
It is, done really well on the tickets as well, and Dave Allen's a fascinating story. You know, people resonate with him, people get behind him. Feel-good stories are great, but don't make you win a fight. And he's got a very tough heavyweight fight against Lucas Brown, who looks in great shape. I think he's a lot fitter than he was when he boxed Dillian Whyte. Both very tough guys, both can punch hard, both don't mind taking a bit of hammer. Both basically you have to, like Dave said, knock them out to stop them. And that's what they'll both be trying to do. I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be one of the best heavyweight fights you've ever seen. It could be a slogfest after 6 rounds, but it will be exciting, there'll be drama. And it's a must win for both guys.
I think both heavyweight fights, Eddie, because you've got Chisora and Gashi, who have both been in wars.
That'll be a war, because Derek only does one style. I know Dave Caldwell's trying to teach him otherwise, but you know, ultimately Gashi's going to come and just have a tear up with Chisora, and Chisora's going to do the same. And like, the problem Derek has in this fight is Gashi is so motivated, like probably too motivated, and Derek, I'm sure he's motivated, but how motivated can you be for Senad Gashi when you've boxed Fury, Whyte, you know, all these other guys as well? And I hope he is motivated, because he'll win. If he's not, it's going to be a very tough night's work for him.
Yeah, we asked Dave Caldwell the same question, because he has got a history of not showing up on the day, and just wondered if that might be an issue with a guy who's obviously...
It will be a major issue if he hasn't. Major issue. In fact, I don't think he wins the fight if he's not motivated, because the other guy will be walking through walls to beat him.
It's almost polar opposites, isn't it? If Derek loses, that's probably the end of the road at the high level. But
I mean, all these guys, you know, a win, whoever wins those 2 fights knows, like it's like winner stays on. You know, like when you're playing pool. That's the same in the heavyweight division. Winner stays on. So you know, it's going to be really interesting to see who can be that winner.
And with Dave Allen, when we talked to Dave Allen, he said the winner's got price. Is that something you can confirm already?
Yeah, I mean, that's the, you know, it's not signed, but that's the intention. Price is up for that. Lucas Brown, that's the deal we did with him. So he's signed for Price. Price has got to step up, or Dave's got to step, whatever happens. But yeah, that's a natural fight. Or Chisora. You know, I mean, Chisora's just put his name in the hat for Joshua on June 1. That's very unlikely.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
You know, I think that Derek's always in the mix for the big fights.
And just looking at the undercard,
really good. Josh Kelly, so good to see him back, because we've missed him, because he's one of the best fighters in the world already, and he's got a good fight on Saturday in the respect that it's a 17-0 kid who's really come to win, looks great physically, like really going to be trying. That's what I want. And the same with Joe Cordina against Andy Townend for the British title. Great fight. You know, Lewis Ritson's old title.
Yeah.
Townend punches very, very hard, and Cordina's been out for a long time with a hand injury, and he's not that experienced. So that's a potential banana skin.
That's our tip for fight of the night, because Cordina, technical.
He's very good, but
and Townend doesn't take a backward step.
What Townend has to do is just keep walking him down, like make it messy, make it violent, and make it physical.
Yeah, same with Conor Benn and Josh Kelly. We seem to, you read, the so-called experts seem to think that those 2 guys have somehow got worse just because they've been inactive.
Yeah, I know. But again, what happens is when you're inactive, you go off the radar, so people don't talk about you anymore. So at the moment, no one's really talking about Josh Kelly. After Saturday, they will be, and Conor. It's just activity, you know, and it's been a frustrating period for both guys, because Josh was flying, and you know, he is an extreme talent.
And you've got 2 early on the card, John Harden Jr., who I thought spoke really well in the press conference.
Amazing. I mean, only the people in boxing know what boxing can do for young people's lives, and I really feel that John Harden Jr. is one of those people that can make a difference to kids in communities that basically have no aspirations or opportunities, is a better word. It's amazing. You know, he was in prison for 6.5 years, found boxing, you know, and it changed his life. And you know, maybe he won't go on to be a world champion, but I tell you what, if he didn't have boxing, he wouldn't even be here.
Absolutely.
And I think it's an inspiring story.
And same with Shannon. She was a rough diamond by her own admission.
You know, I'd encourage any parent to get their kids into boxing, not to become a fighter necessarily, but just to teach discipline and respect and manners and ethics and all these things which boxing gives you.
Do you think it should be in schools, Eddie?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. No chance of that happening. But I mean, the government won't even fund amateur boxing clubs. Now, anyone that knows their boxing knows that amateur boxing clubs are self-funded. The coaches in there don't get paid. They're in there giving their time. It's very, very difficult. So they rely on fundraising, they rely on donors and sponsors and stuff like that. And it's impossible for a club to be not financially successful, financially stable, because they're always fundraising. It's very expensive to take these kids out to away days and fights and stuff like that. So,
but then you see what it can do, like you say.
But if I was in, if I was in government, but if I was part of a local council, I know that if you had 3 or 4 boxing clubs, it would change those kids' lives and it would take them off the streets. So you've got a problem at the moment where you've got too many people on the streets, causing trouble, hanging around, being bored, selling drugs, stabbing people. Take them off the streets, put them in boxing. They ain't gonna have time to go on the streets. They ain't gonna have the energy to go on the streets, and they're just gonna, it's gonna focus the mindset. Doesn't mean you have to be a fighter when you're older, but it just gives you the discipline, respect, like what John said. Don't worry about what other people think of you. Worry about respecting yourself and what you think of yourself, and that's a poignant thought.
It is. It's definitely a discussion that we need to have at a higher level, I think, Eddie. Right, on to the questions that you've probably been battered with. I'll keep it quick. What's the latest update with Miller? And
nothing. I mean, obviously he's got his B sample to be open beginning next week. It's hugely unlikely that'll be different to the A sample, and the search is on for another opponent. Probably spoken to 18 heavyweights in the last 24 hours, 10 of which just aren't on the agenda, and many others that are. And we go through that process now to find out who is on the list, who really wants it, who just wants a payday, who's going to come and give it everything.
Do you know that, Eddie? Can you tell already who's just after the payday and who's serious? Yeah,
generally, because some already, and some you just get a flavour of, and others everybody's going to want a payday, and so they should. But I want the ones that are going to give it their heart and soul, that are going to try and push AJ back, try and knock him out, try and create an unbelievable fight and moment at Madison Square Garden. That's what I want.
Are you expecting a battering?
A what?
A battering, because when the Miller fight was first announced, you got a bit of a battering until the press conference.
Probably. We always get a battering. I mean, he sold the fight well. That's what Miller did. So whoever we choose, no one's going to be happy. But we want a top 15 guy that's going to be involved in a great fight. It's going to be a great card. Joshua's American, and we know that it's the Anthony Joshua show. But it doesn't mean we just take liberties and now just we'll go for Tom Schwartz. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to do that. Yeah. So we need to go out and make sure we find a credible guy. But most importantly, as I said, someone that wants it, someone that wants to win. Yeah. And there's a few that I've spoken to, they 100% think that if they get the chance, they win. And they're the ones I want.
Do you think 6 or 7 weeks is enough to whip yourself into shape?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, 70% of the people I'm talking to are already training for dates. So, it's only the ones that, like Ortiz has just come back from holiday, and his manager said to me, he ain't going to be ready, right? Then I saw an article saying, I'll take the fight, Luis Ortiz. I'm like, excuse me. So what you hear might not always be the truth. So
is Ortiz unlikely?
I think he's unlikely, but he's probably one that people would be happier with than Miller. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, when we announced the Miller fight, I think ability-wise, whoever we choose will be in that bracket. They just won't be as loud. Do you know what I mean?
Can I throw some names at you?
They'll be clean.
Michael Hunter, he seems to be
the mix. Yeah. Someone just said to me, "Is he the favourite?" I said, "Not really." I said, it's going to make sense for us to go in America, or someone that's boxed in America." So Ortiz, Konaki, Hunter, Andy Ruiz has been on. He fights Saturday. I don't think it'll be him. Joseph Parker's been on. Unlikely we'll rematch him. Kayabal's been on, who beat Chisora, the European champion. Pulev, we've spoken to a little bit. Manuel Char wants to fight. Like there's a lot of people, but we just the most important thing to me is find the guy that resonates with the audience out there, and we can sell. He's going to come to fight and going to try and win. Yeah,
and beyond that, there's obviously the whole issue with the drug scandal itself. The main thing is that Joshua's not going in the ring with somebody that's juicing himself up.
As disappointing as it is, I'm very thankful that we found out, because he could have gone in a ring with a guy who had a physical edge, who had an edge on endurance, and they had a war, and Joshua got knocked out or hurt in a fight, and we would never have been able to forgive ourselves. So that's why we do VADA testing, you know, and it's done its job. As disappointing as I wish it wouldn't have happened, but it has happened, and we can say he's not clean, he's out. So now we get a new opponent and make sure they're clean.
Yeah, and this is a guy in the press conference that was accusing AJ of all sorts. So
a lot of people have been accusing AJ of taking PEDs, and a lot of them have failed tests themselves.
Just for the layman out there, Eddie, how does VADA work?
So the promoter has to pay for additional VADA testing. Every big fight out there will carry additional, or sometimes the only, VADA testing. What that means is you sign up for Joshua fights, it's anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks before, and they will test you randomly over that period. It's 1 or 2 a week, might be 2 in 2 days, might be 1 in 10 days, and then 3 in 3 days, completely random. It's the only way to eradicate cheating. You cannot be on this kind of VADA testing, in my opinion, and cheat and have substance in your body. You're going to get caught. So we believe that as long as it's a level playing field, Joshua will beat everybody. Start letting people cheat, start letting them take PEDs, who knows? But this is the fight game. It's not a game of tennis, it's not a sprint. They're trying to do damage, physical damage to each other. So in that respect, I'm over the moon, we found out. But it's a ball ache, which we'll deal with.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I don't envy you having to replace him. Moving ahead, Amir Khan at the weekend. Do you give him any chance?
Yeah, I think he has the skill and the speed to hang with anybody. It's just the things that have let him down in the past. His discipline, sometimes, you know, his punch vulnerability. But Amir's trained very hard for this camp. We hope he goes in there and wins this fight. It's just difficult. You know, we saw with Crolla last week, when you're boxing a pound for pound top fighter, it's hard to win. It's hard to get any success. But he's fighting a very good fighter in Crawford, and hopefully he does the business.
Brilliant. And last question. You've chosen the O2 show over going over to New York. Any particular reason?
Just because it's with my host broadcaster. You know, obviously that fight's not on Sky. It's not a good look for me. You know, sometimes when I'm getting stick about being in America all the time, to not be here for a UK show when I haven't got a fight on in America on another platform, on my platform in America and on Sky. So yeah, we're supporting him 100%. Frank Smith's been out there all week. You know, we hope he does the business, but you know, I'll be here for our big Sky Sports show on Saturday.
Lovely. Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for your time.